So the first question here is awesome, which is, what are the top three qualities of a person that you would cause you to recommend they pursue work at a startup over a large company, and at a large company over a startup? So I don't know if you have three in mind, but I have a couple on both sides. So why
Yeah.
don't you take first crack at a couple and I can add to it?
Yeah. So I would say if you have the itch to join a startup, I think one of the biggest qualities going to help you be successful is your ability to be adaptable. Ethan's talking about finding tablecloths. I could tell you in my experience at Adam and now here at OfferUp is that there is no way that I would ever say that's not my job. Right? I've done everything from cleaning bathrooms to walking around town, handing out flyers, to standing on stage and talking to 5,000 people. And many of those things are incredibly uncomfortable for me and not something that I was intending on doing. And you have to be incredibly adaptable on what you're willing to do and how you're willing to do it. But if you have that drive in you to say, if I see a problem, I'm just going to take care of it, I think that's a incredibly strong talent to have to be successful in a startup environment.
Okay. And what about large company?
So
Because
I
you
think,
obviously are very successful at Amazon too.
yeah, I think working in a large company, there's an I think a perspective that I think Amazon in particular has its own culture and its own challenges of being successful there. But I think that you really need to be able to kind of dive deep and stay connected with the area that you own. The perspective that I have is, and I think that the one of the reasons why I was successful there is that I was able to kind of understand not only the business side but also my engineering responsibilities pretty deeply. And when people would ask me questions, people would engage with me. They kind of always knew. I think you would always count on me to be able to answer the questions that you would have for me, right? And not end up with kind of a mealy mouth answer or I don't know or this. It was a level of dive deep and ownership that kept driving the ball forward. So
And more formal in that way. So what I was going to add to this, I think in a large company, the advantage is the advantage and disadvantage is that your role is defined. Some of this is the opposite of what was said about flexibility in a startup. What I found when I joined Amazon, and I think is true today, is you kind of got to want to do the job you're hired for. And certainly you can branch out and contribute in different areas, but you're very much measured on what it is you were asked to do. So Amish and I were both engineering leaders, and pretty much we could contribute to hiring people and our opinions on legal contracts or business deals. But if the product didn't ship bug free, we were failing. Didn't matter how much window dressing we did contributing elsewhere. My experience in a startup, by comparison, is I have seen people come in from one job and migrate to another. And as long as they're adding enough value in the new job, there's no transfer paperwork. There's no like, oh, well, you came as an engineer, but you're doing all our QA, but we're measuring you as an engineer and you're not the QA guy or you're not the build guy. You're failing. And I think in the more narrow structured part of Amazon, that would, as an example, and other large companies, because I have worked at other big companies, they measure you on what your title says. Um,
title doesn't matter in a startup.
Title doesn't hardly exist.
Yeah, right.
Handed out in part as compensation because you're not going to get paid as much. That's another good point. If you want, it says qualities of a person. Well, if you want paid today, go to a large company.
Right.
If you want a lottery ticket to get paid more tomorrow, go to a startup.
Right. You have to be risk tolerant. It's a huge part of the puzzle. Because if you're not comfortable with that, you're going to always be second guessing, why am I here? What am I doing? You have to believe in the mission of the company and the charter of the company in such a substantial way that you're willing to put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah, and a fun story there. At two different startups I worked at, I had to sit down with my team at different times and say, so we're out of money. And the bankers say they're going to give us what's called a bridge loan. And they say it's going to come in before your paycheck's supposed to clear. But I got to be legally, because it's law, I got to be honest with you. If you stay at work today and you come here tomorrow, there's a good chance you won't be paid for those days. Now, luckily, I never actually had pay not show up. But to sit with your team and be like, we need you. It's going to be okay. We're going to get our next round. But by the way, this next week is on you. And thank you. That's the kind of thing you got to be okay with in a startup. I think from a qualities viewpoint, in a big company, it can sound like startups are all great. Big companies, you don't have that risk.
Right.
And you also can be rewarded for only being an expert, for doing the thing that you do best. So I think that's the trade-off is in a large company. The reasons to go there are the structure and are the support and infrastructure where you can worry about your job much less than worrying about the company. Now, certainly large companies have layoffs and no job is guaranteed. But I think there was some smart aleck author who was quoted as saying, if you like gambling, go to Vegas because the odds are known and very predictable. Stay away from software because that's basically way crazier odds and much more stacked against you.
Right. Right.
Okay. So we'll have our moderators go ahead and pop that question off the top. Again, I know the audience builds up over time, so feel free to add anything you want in chat. But if you want to keep asking questions, the interface should be right there on the screen. And you can vote on the questions of others because we run in a Q&A format. So Amish and I are going to hang out and chat with each other and chat with you about the questions you ask until you're out of questions. And then we go to dinner. So you got to keep us entertained here. Yeah, it's not me. I'm not entertaining. You are. So